All right. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited today because I'm going to be sharing a beautiful testimonial from the lovely Ren, who actually did one of my beautiful menstrual cycle and womb wisdom programs. And she's just going to share with you today her experience and how it's really helped her shift her life and how it's actually really impacted her own womb health and her own womb consciousness. So, hello, Ren. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm fabulous. I don't think I have answered good in a really long time now, so I'm fabulous. I'm amazing.
Oh my God, so excited, and it's so lovely to have you here and to share your story. Really.
Mm.
So let's get straight into it. So, how was your experience over the 6 weeks of the program that I did with you?
Mm. How was it? It was a mixture of feelings going through the entire thing. I think at times it was confronting, but in a really beautiful way. I think often we're so I don't want to say like we're blocked from really experiencing our truth, and we often don't even realize that that's occurring, and we just know what we know. Especially when we first began and we're talking about, what had you been told about your menstrual cycle growing up, and how did that potentially impact you, and really block that wisdom from coming through and us honoring our cycle. That was incredibly confronting, but in a really beautiful way, because I could feel that with bringing that up, it was allowing me to heal some deep, deep things within.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's fantastic that you say that, because I feel that that's probably the number one issue that women have. It's just this lack of education around their menstrual cycle and what's going,
Mm.
what's normal and what's not normal and what to look out.
Mm-hmm.
So it was great through the
Yeah.
program because I was able to really show you what actually happens through every single week of your cycle over those 30 days.
Mm.
And how that really connects to the moon cycles, and really understanding that the messages that your body is trying to give you through your menstrual cycle, because it's really a report of
Mm.
your health, right? And
Absolutely.
what did you discover in that journey with your menstrual cycle that was probably not in balance? What was the abnormalities that was coming up for you?
So I had a lot of pain. I couldn't even remember the last time that I haven't experienced a pain-free bleed. Um, Another thing was just my body. Like I had a lot of different sort of bloating. I was lethargic a lot. Um, and also the duration of my bleed was quite all over the place. Like my cycle was around the 28-day period, but how long I would actually bleed for was in between like maybe 4 to 6 days, but it would stop and start. And I know when I first told you that, you're like, there's so much going on here. I'm like, I know. I came through with my tail between my legs because I was like, I seriously know this is it. Um, like I'm a growth addict. I love it. I can always sense when there's more and more blockages. And I think I'd mentioned this to you before, but I came to you because I could really realize that there was a disconnect with my womb, and it was starting to feel more and more unnatural to be experiencing these things. And I was meeting more and more women saying, it's actually not the right way. And then I connected with you once, and then I was watching it, and I'm like, I know now it's not. But it took a little bit of a leap of faith, I think, and some courage to go, okay, well, this is the next thing I'm going to work on, because we're being called to as women. We're being called to really reconnect and to take back our power and to understand that divinity that resides within us that only we get to access. So, yeah, those are the things that were coming up.
Beautiful. You said it so beautifully. And when you went through that journey and you were connecting with your menstrual cycle, and the healing process started to happen, what started happening with your menstrual cycle and how you were connecting with that?
Oh, man, so much. I've got journals and journals, but so ultimately my bleed started to stretch out. I know that I started to like commune with my body and my blood a lot more. And I've said to you, like now I'm just getting these major urges to really honor this process. I think there was so much shame associated with bleeding. It was something that we had to hide. And like I mentioned in the beginning, when we were talking about it throughout the program, was what happened when you were younger. Like, were you shamed, and was it normalized? Was it just, was pain something that we were all expected to experience? So as we're sort of breaking down those conditionings and I was looking at it more, I started to really be able to develop this beautiful, communion with it, and understand that that my cycle was something that I should really honor and adore and get excited for every month, because I wasn't before. I would get so pissed off and I would just not want it to be something that was coming, and I would resist, and then I would resent it. And I was missing out on so much magic because of that. So even though I was still experiencing pain in the first instance, and that was pretty extreme. Like I'd mentioned it to you, and I feel like it's important to say here as well, is that I would be bedridden at least for the first 3 days, leading up to my period, and then in that first couple of days of my cycle. And that's definitely been for the past few years. I've had to have surgery. There's been a lot of different issues that are going on there. So yeah, I would really hate it that was going to come up for me and I'd have to flatline. And so even in those first couple of weeks when that was still happening, I still felt excited though, because I knew that something was shifting. I knew that energetically and mentally and emotionally and physically, I was connecting in a different way.
Mm. And this is a lot, this happens to all women who start the program. They find that it's the wisdom that comes through. It's like, wow, I didn't know that there was magic happening even in pain, that the pain was the body trying to give you a message and you didn't really understand what it was. And instead with annoyance or just, I hate my period, and just so much criticism towards our bodies. And this was actually the gift. This was the gift as we started to recognize what was really going on, when we could go deeper. And we know that, I kind of showed you to help you understand that a lot of the pain that we're suffering is actually also underneath that. It's an emotional thing. There's emotions that we've kind of held in the womb that's stuck, that we haven't actually expressed properly. And so for you, when we were going into the womb journey and we started to do a lot of your womb healings, where we started to really open up the womb's consciousness and the DNA through light language and chanting and through music, what sort of came up for you when you started to journey deeper into your womb regarding the messages of your emotions?
Oh, man, so much. Every time we'd come out of them, I was like, what just happened? There was so much that was coming through. I think the biggest thing that I was sort of reconnected with emotionally or spiritually, energetically, was the wounded womb, the wounded woman, like my worth and how disconnected I was to my feminine aspect, the empowered, fully embodied and fully remembered feminine. And that strength, and actually being able to listen to my intuition correctly, and not trusting myself and not trusting other people. Or, I started to see patterns throughout my entire life that could always go back to that disconnect and that honoring of myself and my body and my womb. So much came up. I mean, we don't have that much time, but so much came up.
I mean, there was so much. It was so profound every time we did it. Because through the program, we actually constructed it in a way that we would do an online session where we would go right into the theory and the understanding of the body. And then the following week, we'd, go through a healing. And those womb healings were really powerful. And it would take up to 2 weeks just to integrate what had happened. And I think what was really great was, you received quite a lot of audios and recordings and mantras and symbols that helped you activate throughout that 6 weeks journey. And there was homework given on a week-to-week basis where I was really teaching you when we should be doing these practices. I was showing you mudra dancing as well, where I showed you this beautiful process of activating the womb. And I know there was a lot coming up for you when you were doing that. There was energy that was ramping up through your root chakra. So did you want to share a little bit about
Yeah, sure. It's all just coming back to life now. I'm like, oh man, there was so much, and there's so much juicy stuff to talk about. Because I know that you had called out in that first instance when we're talking about the physical sort of disruption that was coming across, that I'd had certain blockages within my pelvis. And I remember I'm like, she's a wise woman, because it had somewhat come up already through some scans that I had. She's like, she's on it. And so the first thing you sort of said was that I needed to move my hips a lot more, and I had to dance, and then I needed to really connect in that way and move my body. And I mean, just with the mudras and with everything that we were doing, it just, it didn't allow me to forget. Like, I know that when we talk about like integrating and when such big things can happen, if we don't integrate it correctly, we tend to just go back into our old patterns. And throughout that time, I didn't really have a choice, nor did I want to. I mean, it takes a commitment, right? But I just, oh man, I don't know. I would hear things, I would see things, I was connecting in the most phenomenal ways. And I felt so incredibly supported throughout that entire process as well. A lot of it was quite foreign to me. Like, until you start really accessing those portals, you're like, oh shit, is this actually normal? but you know, like there was just so much. But I think on a physical aspect, what I was feeling was just a reignition, a supercharge, where I was getting more clarity of the mind. My energy was just at an all-time high. I had like a more of a sensuality about me. I was moving differently just through honoring and sort of recognizing myself and my body, and doing those connections and those practices that you did give every week were incredibly powerful, and things that I'd never experienced before.
Mm. And this is, you mentioned a key point. It's, we can get lost on the day-to-day stuff that we have with our work and our kids and all of that. But it's really important, as we kind of went through this program, that you did the activities, because that was really in that the grounding mechanism that your body would naturally move in that direction after a while. It would become an instinct. You know, this is the thing. It's a process. And even after week program, you're still going through the process. You know, the womb doesn't just miraculously heal and then that's it. We don't have to do anything else. It's a monthly process for the rest of your life. But the womb opens up. It opens up in its consciousness, and it heals in miraculous ways. But tap into that source of creation, because women looked at the womb as such a, you know, just as the uterus and as the physical structure, which it is. But underneath that is so much more, where it's like a creatrix web that's connected to the cosmos, to our ancestors, to Mother Earth. And, you know, women would be feeling this energetic pulse that would happen through the womb. It's the heartbeat that would pulsate from the earth into your womb. And nature was really running through you. And it was that remembrance that you are so much more, and that the source of creation runs through you, and that you can birth anything into existence through your womb. And from this area, it allows your heart to be held in safety and security, you know, in stability, which a lot of us as women feel unstable. We feel so anxious, and we're moving through life in this masculine way, which is beautiful because we need that to balance. But we're not surrendering and dropping into the womb and being and receiving and realizing that we can plant those seeds in our womb and pull things into our vortex without having to do anything. And where we can check in to see in our womb, how far along are we? How far is the seeds germinating? You know, and when you really heal that, you really heal the collective consciousness of women's wombs, but also the men. So you'll be gravitating towards different types of men who are going to be attracted to you because of the energy that you're emitting through. You know, it's your life.
Very true.
Yeah. You know, so program, what has your life been like? How has it sort of shifted the way that you now?
Well, I think when I came to you, I don't want to say I was a mess, but there was a lot going on for me, emotionally, physically, energetically, everything. How has my life changed? Wow. I think, well, one thing that I absolutely know for sure is the trust that I have in myself now is beyond anything I ever could have imagined. I didn't even realize when we first started out just how little I trusted myself, and how that was then translating into the way that I moved in the world, the amount that I would take risks as a woman, and that I would be able to go off these intuitive pulses all of the time and honor my process, and not, like you said, like we are running around on this very masculine pulse a lot of the time. And there's nothing really wrong with it if we know how to actually fuse the two, right? And honor both of those things within us. But we aren't taking the time to really sit and understand that we can absolutely bring things into our field, and we don't even really need to try, just as long as we're communicating. It just happens. But my life has changed dramatically. I don't have any pain anymore. I've had pain-free periods, like literally none. I'm bleeding now for around that 6-day period, and it's beautiful. That's like, I'm honoring that flow, and I'm getting into my creativity, and I understand how to map my weeks now and actually meet myself before I go and meet the world. And I know how to bring the world to me in all of my business ventures. And you've said that to me, is that as soon as we start to clear some of this junk out and we liberate you, everything will shift, and that it would have had a lot to do with my work. And that was very much because I'm continuously in a creative process, and I work with a lot of businesses, and predominantly business women and young women that are looking to access these greater sort of creative aspects of themselves as well. And because of the wisdom that's now coursing through me, I'm able to sort of guide them in a much better way as well, in how they need to slow and honor that femininity within them and reconnect. So it's been powerful work. All of my relationships have shifted. How I commune with everybody is now in much of a greater honor of myself, because I've realized that in order for me to support the world, I need to genuinely stand in my truth and my power and honor all of that, and expect a bit of a higher standard of everyone. And I don't mean that arrogantly. I just mean that, you know, I was settling all of the time. I was taking way beyond what I was worth in my pay and in my relationships and in the time that I would give out. And I would overly exhaust myself all of the time. Like we said in the beginning, that would even boil into some form of anger or resentment, or me being tired and losing my inspiration. And that doesn't happen anymore.
Go you.
Yay! Yeah.
This is the thing, like, this is a common thing that women don't know how to say no, or their boundaries are pushed, and recognize that we're actually losing our power in those circumstances, and we're not really honoring ourselves. And when we really connect to the womb, it becomes more with a flow. It becomes easy. It becomes so much more powerful, because that flow is happening, and you don't, it's not about being mean or feeling judged or anything like that. It's just that these belief systems that are still sitting in the body that we've picked up on from our mothers, our fathers, the way we were raised. And when we journeyed inside the womb, we're not just healing, or we're not just shifting what's happening in this life, but what you picked up on in the womb when you were in the womb of your mother, and her feelings and her fears that was imprinted onto you through the blood and through the amniotic fluid that you sat in for 9 months of your life. It was you as you were being created. And, you know, we were able to, even in the healings, connect to your ancestors and allow them to connect through their threads back into your womb, to remember that you're not alone, that they're there with you. They're supporting you. Benevolent ancestors are there with you, and they love you unconditionally. And when we connect to a higher frequency of all of these beautiful, you know, energetic frequencies around us, we become unstoppable. And we realize that, you know, everything has been birthed from the womb. You know, every child has been born from a womb. And this is that access portal gateway from the invisible to the visible. And it is the intelligence of the womb, we know, is just incredible. How a child is created in the womb, how it's born, you know, our cycles and what happens to a woman's body is just phenomenal. And when we can commune in this energy more and trust more about what's happening, we can pick up anything. We can pick up if we are getting cancer. We can pick up a disease in the body. We can really ourselves in such a way which is not, we can't comprehend through the mind, because the mind will go into suffering. But the womb has its own primal voice, its own intelligence. And when you drop down, which was what was happening for you, you were saying things like, I know what to do. Not I think, or maybe this feels right, but I don't know. There's no second guessing when you're connected to the direct, yes, I know this is the right path. And the more you commune in this way, you can create anything for whatever direction you want to go in life, with your kids, with your work, with your family, with when you want to buy a house or whatever. Connect with your women.
Mm.
Is this the right direction? I'm here. I
Yeah.
love listening. Have I dropped into my women connected today? And this is
Mm-hmm.
what was happening for you. You were connecting more and more in this beautiful frequency, which, I'm so proud of you. You've come such a long way from the beginning when we started the program, and to look at you now
Yeah.
glowing in your feminine and
Mm.
your balance of your feminine and masculine, which is, the yin and yang,
Mm.
is incredible. I'm incredibly proud.
Yeah.
You know,
Thank you. Something I want to say as well is, and I think I missed this vital point, was safety came up for me a lot, and how I think collectively, well, I know collectively as women, we don't always feel safe. We have not felt safe to speak that truth or demand more because we're afraid that we'll come off as too dominant and too masculine, or we don't want to take up too much space. And it's very much a conditioning. And it's also, like you said, it's this ancestral wounding that's been there. And, millennia ago, maybe that was the case, or it definitely was, that we had to stifle our voices and we had to protect ourselves and our children from roaming free, and we couldn't take as many risks. And since connecting more and more to that divine wisdom and being able to clear out and honor the lineage, honor all of our ancestors and past lives, and be able to see that those wounds no longer served me, has allowed me to really stand in that truth and know that I'm always safe.
yeah.
Always. And as a single mother with 2 kids, like going out and being bold and taking risks, I would always fuse logic into that and be like, no, stay a little smaller, do all these things, stay comfortable. But I knew it wasn't in my innate makeup to do that. I want to be bold. I want to be completely expressive and be able to stand out there and be that light for other people as well. But it definitely did take this shift. And I know that that's why I came to you, was because not only because of the physical issues, and I will say too that I was booked in for physical surgery that I cancelled 3 times, and I have not done it. I didn't go and do it at all. I haven't even done the surgery.
Wow.
Yeah, to go back, because they wanted to keep sort of dissecting in and going in and exploring more and saying what was wrong with me. And there's nothing wrong with me. There is absolutely nothing wrong with me. I just was that deeply disconnected, and my body was screaming at me to say, remember that I'm here. My womb was screaming at me to say, just stop and slow down and surrender and hear what it is that I need you to understand and what I need you to embody. And so I'm incredibly grateful for the time that we had together on that program, because it really allowed me to open up this communication. And you've guided me in a way, and I said this to you before, is that I'm empowered to take that for myself. It wasn't that you were saying you need everyone else all of the time. You guided me in a way where I can now go and I put that into daily practice for myself. And I'm my own healer now in doing that. It's really beautiful, and it genuinely has changed the way that I move in the world as a woman. It's incredibly powerful.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I think, this is the most thing, that I'm not the healer. You are. All I've done is give you that access portal gateway to just open up the different dimensions within your body to allow you your wisdom, because this is an inherent wisdom that you carry. And when you can access that, you don't need me. You don't need me. Doing this program will allow you to remember that and remember how powerful you are. So thank you for saying that.
Absolutely.
Is there anything before we sort of wrap up that you'd like to, say to the beautiful women that are listening today?
It's our divine right and responsibility to connect back in with our feminine and to that power and that strength of the womb, and how we commune with ourselves and with others through it. So I encourage everyone, no matter whether it is just, because we try and soften it down by going, oh, well, that's just some physical pain. There is far more to it. And I genuinely believe that I am walking proof, that you can crack through those things and you can take all of that power back. And we are being called as a collective to do that. So I encourage everyone to do it.
Thank you for
You're
that.
amazing. And this has been life-changing for me. And I guarantee that it would be for others as well. I fully support you, and I support everything that you're here to do. And your mission is so incredibly powerful.
Oh, thank
you.
And it's important to remember that, you know, even if you may not know that you have any womb things to go through, like womb issues to go through,
Mm.
for a woman's life, we go through different stages. We have a period cycle. We then go through becoming a mother and fertility journey, and then we go through menopause. So a lot of the
Mm.
life stages really affect our womb, and it doesn't matter where you are on your journey. My program really can help you at any stage of your life. So I'm really
Mm.
grateful to have worked with such a beautiful woman like you, Ren. It's just
Mm.
such an honor, and for you to just take on everything that kind of I guided you with. You know, that's the gift. You know, you really took it on and really applied it, and look at you now. You're doing amazing. So
Yeah, now.
yeah, so
Thank you, sister. Thank
thank
you.
thank you everyone.
Hmm?
Please reach out if you're interested. I will send the links below, and you can reach out then. Thank you, everyone. I'm Dr. Tashini. Bye.
Bye.